UEFA seems to be changing everything now, leaving some people scratching their heads in confusion while others are outraged and annoyed. Well, if you fall into the latter group, I can't help you there. But if the new UEFA Nations League has you confused, then you've come to the right place. We'll teach you all about this new UEFA competition and how it affects the Euro Championship qualifying process. Welcome to Rabona TV. My name is Adrian. I'll be your guide on this particular journey. And if you're a big football fan, then be sure to subscribe to take part in our live talk shows, get in-depth backstories on your favorite players with our mini documentaries, statistical weekend reviews, and even a little FIFA content. All right, let's get started, and I'll do my best to not call it the League of Nations. So basically, you know how whenever the international break rolls around, for many of us, it feels like the longest week and a half of our lives without our regularly scheduled club football. UEFA is trying to change that outlook on the international break by giving more importance to international football, by way of a promotion and relegation league system. The UEFA Nations League will occur in between the World Cup and European Championship competitions. So that means the first edition of the UEFA Nations League will start in September of 2018 and end in June of 2019. Before we get to that though, let's look at the structure. All 55 UEFA member nations will be divided into 4 leagues, creatively named Leagues A, B, C, and D. For the first edition of the league, before the promotion and relegation system is utilized for future editions, leagues were divided based on a team's UEFA coefficient. The coefficient is basically just derived from the results of the team in question. So if your nation wins regularly, you rank higher. That's the long and short of it. So, in each group within a league, no longer will you see Germany matched up with San Marino or Kosovo taking on Spain. So for example, in League A, the groups are as follows. Group 1, Germany, France, Netherlands. Group 2, Belgium, Switzerland, Iceland. Group 3, Portugal, Italy, Poland. And Group 4, Spain, England, Croatia. It must be noted Leagues A and B have 3 teams per group, while C and D have 4 teams per group. Now, it's kind of weird, but yes, the country you support will only play against the few teams that are in their group, once at home and once away. I guess it's not that weird considering that's the same format as European qualifiers currently, but just way less teams. Matches in the 2018 format will take place between September and November of 2018. The first place teams in each group of League A will advance to the Final Four tournament, as UEFA is calling it, which will take place in June of 2019. There will be 2 semifinals, obviously, a third place match, and a final where the inaugural UEFA Nations League champion will be unveiled. The host country will be appointed by the executive committee, but it will always be one of the competing nations. So, what happens if your country finishes in last place of their group? Well, then you get relegated to the lower league, from A to B, B to C, etc., etc. And if you're already in the lowest league, D, and your team finishes last, well, then you get booted from all FIFA and UEFA competitions for 8 years. Yikes. I'm just joking, by the way. No, nothing happens to your team. You still get to play. So now you might be wondering, all right, how does this affect the qualification process for the UEFA Euro competitions? Well, first of all, you gotta remember that UEFA has made yet another format change to Euro 2020, and that there will be 24 teams as opposed to just 16. Also, no team will gain automatic qualification as a host nation, as there are 12 host nations for the next edition. Man, Euro 2016 had third place teams advancing. Now this? So to start, European qualification will not resemble the Nations League process with 3 or 4 teams per group, divided by leagues. And also, just because you've won the Nations League, that doesn't guarantee you automatic qualification for Euro 2020. It's a separate entity in that particular sense, though not completely. We'll come back to that. All 55 member nations will be divided into 10 groups of 5 or 6 teams, with the top 2 teams automatically qualifying for the European Championships. The remaining 4 places will then be decided through a playoff format, based on the UEFA Nations League standings from the previous year. This is where it gets a bit confusing, so pay attention here. All of the group winners of the Nations League are automatically qualified for the European Championships playoffs, though some of them may have already qualified for the European Championships through the traditional route when the teams were divided into 10 groups, as I mentioned before. If a Nations League group winner has already qualified, then their spot will go to the next best team within their Nations League. And the next best teams will be decided by point total, then goals scored, etc., etc., etc. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the point? So basically, winning your Nations League group acts as a safeguard for you if you were to fail to qualify for the European Championships via the traditional route, as you automatically qualify for the European qualifier playoffs. Have you been keeping count of how many times I've said qualifier or qualifier in this video? Because it's got to be up there. So with all the teams decided, the 4 competing nations from each Nations League, A, B, C, and D, all have a mini UEFA Nations League Final Four competition. Remember that? Where the top 4 teams from League A went and played a mini tournament for the UEFA Nations League trophy? Well, it's the same, except there's 4 Final Four tournaments, 1 for each league, and the final 4 places at Euro 2020 are on the line. Is your head spinning? Because mine was. But here's a practical example that should illustrate things nicely. Let's take Poland for example, and assume that they finish as their Nations League group winners, ahead of Portugal and Italy. Now, let's also assume that they failed to finish in the top 2 of their European qualifiers group a year later. Since they finished at the top of their Nations League group, they will automatically qualify for the League A European Championships playoffs. Wow, it sounds complicated at first, but it's like riding a bike. Once you get it, you get it. So, what you need to remember is that the UEFA Nations League actually means something and that it can be a safeguard for your country should they have a poor European Championships qualification campaign. And we get another mini tournament every year between the World Cup and the European Championships. That's not the worst thing ever, I guess. Anyway, I'm Adrian. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and if you enjoyed it, like it. If you're new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Peace.